Okay. This open meeting of the Master Plan Implementation Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on March 29th, 2023. All members of the Master Plan Implementation Committee are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The act allows the Master Plan Implementation Committee to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. And with that, I'll take our attendance tonight. Julianne Hirsch.
Here.
Amy Paretsky.
Here.
Millie Milton.
Here.
Ashley Davies.
Here.
Tracy Camerano.
Here.
Fran Baxter.
Here.
Gene Kennedy.
Here.
Gene Cahill.
Here.
Rick Leaf is here. John Campbell. I don't see John yet. And Jen Tolman.
Here.
Lori Connors.
Here.
Is there anyone else from the staff here tonight, Lori, or just yourself?
And nobody else.
Okay. So we have more than enough for a quorum. Thank you all for being very prompt and getting on tonight. We have a number of things to cover. First of which is a presentation by Terry Underwood from the Northborough Cultural Council. So welcome, Terry, and we're very interested in hearing what you have to say tonight. Hopefully there are things you've got planned and we have planned and we can work together to continue to improve our town. So go ahead, Terry.
Well, good evening, everyone. And I want to thank everyone for inviting us to come and speak. And I say us because we are a team, and so glad to see Jen Tallman's face there too. She's really great and will be a great asset to you guys as we try to. I would like to share my screen.
You should be all set.
Okay, so can everyone see this?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
At the bottom of the screen, there's the share screen button. It's green, and then you have to actually click on share.
Got it. Details.
The wonderful world of technology.
Okay, can everyone see this?
Still no.
Oh,
You might have to click on the screen you want to show and then press share.
okay. Zoom. Huh.
Normally when you click the screen, the green share screen, it brings up different files and you have to click on the one you want to share. I don't know if it did that for you or not.
Let's see. You see it now?
No.
Let's see.
Laura, I just got a text from John Campbell. He said he can't get into the meeting.
He's not here. I don't see him in the waiting room. I'll send him the invite again.
Yeah, like he said, he texted me. He said, I can't get into the meeting.
Okay. It's telling me I need to leave the meeting in order to do this. Does that sound normal? Either that
No,
or I'm
that
going to
doesn't-
go for my other laptop.
Yeah, that doesn't sound normal. Is there a way you could email it to somebody, like maybe Jen, and then maybe she can share it? Because I definitely have you as co-host.
Yep, I should be able to.
Right.
And I slid the appropriate button. So Jen, if I share this with you.
Yeah, let me, God, I'm on my phone. Okay, hold on.
Oh,
let me-
you're on your phone. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're on your phone.
I think
Oh,
I could do the drive. Is it in the drive, Terry? Let me look in the drive real quick. Hold on.
I didn't share it with you, but I will share it.
Okay.
if it's on your phone, that's probably gonna be too challenging.
Okay.
You know, why don't you try emailing it to me? Sometimes it doesn't always work very well when I host, but we can try it.
Okay. My other option is to just jump out and jump back in with my other laptop, but I don't know if,
That'd probably be slower than just emailing it to me.
got it. My apologies, everyone. This is
Technology. It trips us up always.
I do this stuff
At one
every
time or
day.
another.
Lori, I think I just emailed it to you on the Yahoo, but if you have a Google, it might be easier to share off the Google Drive.
Okay,
If you
I
could share
just
it to my, if you could send it to my work email, I have
I
trouble with
just
my
Oh, all right.
I just sent it
my
to you.
Yahoo.
You should be able to open it.
Don't have it yet. If you could send it to the
I think I sent it to L.
town
Connors.
dot Northborough.
Yeah, I think I just did. I don't know if I can share. I don't know how
There's
to
no
share.
title on it, but it's there.
I think I just found it.
Honestly, I do this stuff for a living.
Yeah, still nothing yet.
Oh my God.
Did you send it to L Connors, Connors, at town dot Northborough dot MA dot US?
I did at 7:09.
Okay, let's try it again. Well, maybe as we wait. Oh, here we go. It's coming.
It's
The
not alarming.
PowerPoint presentations are slow, so
Oh,
especially if they have a lot of pictures.
This just has a couple. I forgot how to share it.
Is there any chance you want to start talking while this downloads?
oh, sure. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a little bit of what's on the presentation, and when it uploads, you'll be able to see what we're talking about. I want to introduce us first as the Northborough Cultural Council, which is one of 329 local cultural councils in the state of Massachusetts. And so we are one of many towns who have taken up the state on their offer to form a group and receive funds, which we then turn into grants to folks who are looking to create some fun, display their art, performances, and do some really great things in those local towns. So under the umbrella of the Massachusetts Cultural Council, that's where we receive our direction from, and that's who we report to. There are annual reports. That's where we get our guidance, and we have direct liaisons that we work with to help guide us along the way. Other towns, comparing ourselves to other towns, we have, I think we're at 6 folks now, and we received this year almost like $5 shy of $7,000, which we then turn into grants. And those grants, I keep saying the word grants, but what it is people will set up a program, something they want to do at the senior center, at the library, at schools, performances, and then from there, people can apply from anywhere. But our focus in determining which ones are best for our community are going to be the ones that really have a focus on Northborough. So other towns can apply to towns, say on the Cape or Western Mass. However, our focus, our priorities are directed toward the town of Northborough. How's it going, Lori? Any progress?
It's coming up as a PDF, so I'm gonna have to share it that way. So
Okay,
just let me do
okay.
This is good.
Yay, all right.
Okay.
that. So do you want me to advance?
I will let you know
Okay.
when the next ones are. Okay, so as you can see from here, we have some artists on our crew. And I will keep using the word team and we because everybody comes to us on this council with different skill sets, experiences, and we try to utilize them and do the best we can with making sure that we get to use these grants and have the biggest benefit to the town. So I guess you can go on to the next one and I'll talk about it because it's kind of self-evident there. So the focus is Northborough. So grants, public art, and festivals, events, different things that you might see in town that you might not realize. The Cultural Council, your local Cultural Council, has a stake in. So something like the concerts that happen in the summer with the Affairs Committee. Those are, most people know about those, but also things that go on in the schools too, which different grades you may not know so much of. Okay, here we have, again, speaking about the grants. Last year it was closer to 8,000 that we received. This year is right around 7,000. And we turn that around into something really great. The pictures you see in front of you here are from our Culture Fest last year. And the Culture Fest is a one-day event. It took place this year and last year, this past 2 years, on the town common. And so, we think that's a really great use for this piece of land. People drive by, they see fun things happening. You can see all the tents there. So under those tents, you would find Be Well Northborough had a tent, the Historical Society, Junior Women's Club, different, I think, chorus, all kinds of offerings. But also in the middle there, and I think it's behind a tree, there are art exhibits. And those collections, that curated pieces of art, are from the middle schoolers. So art is for everyone. And that comes in the form of humanities, sciences, and, the performing arts as well. So not just one thing. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, an example of something that we did last year and anticipate doing again this year. It's upcycling of doors. They're the team of Suzanne and Craig Cox, and I just want to take a moment to recognize Craig. He passed away very suddenly this past December, and he was he's going to be horribly missed. So I don't want to go too far into that right now, but so these doors, there's a call to artists. So this is a really unique thing that Northborough Cultural Council does. You put out what's called a call to artists. You are looking for people who are going to, the doors are prepared, stripped, as I recently learned, and then created, it becomes a canvas. So it's prepped for an artist who receives a small stipend, and those are, hopefully people have seen them. They line one side of Ellsworth McAfee Park. And so it's a temporary exhibit, like a month and a half-ish. You can walk along the park, and it's something really unique. So Suzanne and Craig had, during COVID, had found in another town this type of exhibit, and so we really liked it. We were able to do it, and you can't tell in the picture there, but there are legislators there, select board members there. Julianne Hirsch has been there, very supportive of what we do, and what we do isn't just creative what you're seeing, but sometimes we get creative in what we're using. So these are upcycled doors. These could be very old doors, and the next step is that they are auctioned off, and it helps with giving us a little bit of funding so that we can do it again. So very unique, something different, and some people in town actually have these. So artists are from the region, but for the most part, not that far. Next one, please.
Terry, I'm curious where you auction them off.
We auctioned them off at Culture Fest. And so
okay.
there were QR codes. Next to each door, there was a little lawn sign, and then a QR code. And then so you could log in, take a look at it, and bid all the way up until the designated date. Now, the designated date last year was the day of Culture Fest. And so, it got very exciting. There was dancing, there was singing, all kinds of things going on, and the auction of the doors. And so local food, just trying to highlight all the great stuff that's going on. So, and please stop me. If anybody has questions, just please jump in. I'm a little bit passionate about what we do. The mural. So anybody who has driven by Route 20 in town heading east, that is the side of the gas station. And some of what I'm going to refer to, how did this mural come to be? That's an example of what we are able to do. It's public art. It's part of a public art campaign that we had, our team had engaged in a couple of years ago, and is still ongoing. So this was, there was a call to an artist. There was a very generous benefactor who supported this, and the Cultural Council was able to find an upcoming artist who gave a couple of versions, something to do with wildlife, something that touched on Northborough, so more personal. And then at Applefest, we stopped people at our tent and come and vote on the pictures. And so that's how we arrived at the hummingbird with the apples. There were a couple of other selections to go with, and this is the one that was chosen. So that's why you see, I think the apples kind of probably did it. But, I think it translates very nicely to our town, and it just makes it more personable. Our plans, the top one, the Adirondack chairs, that I'm hoping that we can still get them. That may not be able to happen, but the idea, if we can, if those do happen to make it around, we would connect this project, again, Call for Artists, which is a unique thing and really wonderful because it really draws attention to us in Northborough as being unique, different, special, and ours. So the chairs, what we were hoping to do was to have an artist or artist paint them, and like a pollinator theme, something like that. And we thought that it would be lovely to have them in the town common. So, it would be functional art. So, maybe you go, there are certain times a year, the MFA has, that's the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. they have Adirondack chairs out, and I've seen in other towns and places where they do something like this. And so, we can put our own spin on it. The next item, Northborough Open Studios. The idea of this is to have a map with a curated list of artists that are in town, lawn signs planted around with arrows on them, and then you go visit artists in town. So I just want to say these, excuse me, these are funded, they're in process. So the amount of details that I have for this isn't all there yet, but it's coming. So if you haven't heard of Open Studios, I've been to a few of them around New England. You can look up on your phone, or at some of the eateries, you might find a brochure, and you can then just drive around and go check these artists out, maybe buy some of what they have. So it could be a photographer, a ceramicist, pottery, all kinds of things. The list is unending. Porch Fest. Next one is where we hope to connect again with a map, and around town could be at different eateries, restaurants. It could be someone has a large porch that's easily accessible, something, and have local musicians, artists. Think I don't want to commit the Jack's Guitar Garage, but because people might be familiar with him, think about some of his students, or groups of people, and this porch or this property is having an event at this time, and then you just go around and visit. So something unique that we would like to do. And then something we are seeking funding for, that more of a long-term goal, is a Love Northborough sculpture. So I tried to come up with a picture of this and put it in, but I did not succeed in finding it in town. But several years ago, there's some of my predecessors on this council created it out of foam, Love Northborough. So if you can picture from like the 60s or the 70s, an LOVE, but the O is an apple, and under it a black strip or black section that says Northborough. Well, this got used so many times. My understanding is it went to the police station, the fire station, the library. This foam sculpture fell apart, but it was well used, and just cites an example of something that we were able to share and gladly, and create some unity and excitement and selfies. Oh my goodness, that's a huge compliment when you can go someplace like the mural or some of these other things going on, and people are taking selfies. Like, wouldn't you want to be there? It's fun. So that's in process. These are things that we are looking to do. And another one is a freestanding mural. So there's a potential to create somewhere in town, and there's ideas out there. We are still working on details. Again, I will say that, but maybe if you can envision large pieces of maybe metal, and they're standing up in the ground, and it's a mural. So as you drive by, maybe near Assabet Park, or we are trying to keep things more towards the center of town. So it's placemaking, it's our space, it's our culture, it's Northborough. So all of these different things, the artists, the businesses, the musicians, the restaurants, the eateries, the coffee shops, and the things that we have to offer, start connecting those dots and pulling these different people and services together. And you've got something really great. And I think as time goes on, we can just do better. Next slide, please. No way.
That's it.
No, that is not the right. That is not the right one. Did you, Lori, question, did you download mine or Jen's?
That was Jen's, because I wasn't able to get yours in time, but I can see that yours has now arrived. So let me stop
Oh,
share
you
this
got it.
one
Yes, please.
and open the other one.
I took that from the drive, Terry, sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. That was part of it. That was
Okay.
in process.
Okay.
All right.
Harry, I
Yes,
may
I
have
can see
missed
that
it.
there's more to it. So let me share my screen again.
Harry, I may have missed it, but did you talk about the Apple sculptures?
Not yet. That's coming. Yes.
Oh, okay.
That
Sorry.
is coming. Yes. Okay. So I guess start from the top and go to the second one.
So this was the mural,
Oh yeah, I just
and now
rearranged.
I'm on the one after the mural.
Okay, let's see. Can you go to the one above the mural? It feels like I didn't, above that one? Okay, yes, all right. So I just want to talk a little bit about what our purpose is really here. Our job is to look at the people in our town and around surrounding communities, whatever it takes, to explore and showcase and enrich the community by having events that go on at schools. So when I say schools, there's been like African drumming, PTOs apply regularly. One of the approved grants this year was a garden over at Peasley, and they're going to be working with the students. So there's STEM involved here as well. Okay, so on the left, I have how we're working to connect the community. So grants to senior center, to the library, to students. Excuse me. Some of it has been for open mic night. So it can be for things that are going to last longer instead of just one event. And through all of these, connecting all of these smaller dots, it's a bigger picture, and it's supposed to be fun, create a buzz. All right. How does the Northborough Cultural Council engage? There are surveys, and we do these surveys at the Culture Fest, at Apple Fest. I walked around with a clicker at the Culture Fest, and I estimated 438 people that stopped by that day. So it's really good. We're in the news. We get noticed. And when I say we, it's the town, really. These results of the survey are required by the Mass Cultural Council, and the drivers, as I've alluded to before, what we do is really just all of the need that we have in the community to highlight all of the great stuff that goes on here. So how I explained how the mural was voted on. We're going to be doing something else with the electrical boxes. That's on our menu for this year. And engaging the community. I've reached out to the middle school, and the idea is that to engage students there, where we can come up with some designs and through an artist, called an artist, and have the students decide. So the idea is maybe pollinators, and I think there's like 5 electrical boxes that we've targeted in town that is in our budget. But again, it's going to be closer to town and kind of pull things together. I guess, let's see. Next slide, please. I'm trying to watch the time. So if you guys need to as I said, I'm passionate about this. Okay, the public art campaign. So think placemaking in our community. And there's already, you can look at the maps and the zoning and what goes where, but as you draw those circles tighter together towards the center of town, that's the highest concentration of people and businesses and things going on. that's where we would have more visibility. So I personally would love to see more murals in town. We'll see, things cost, maybe other opportunities come up. We'll see. The public art campaign is a multi-year effort, and it's what we are doing here by engaging so many people, all different walks of life, is that it also draws attention to public well-being, mental health, mental well-being. Don't you want to be here? Don't you want to take a ride over here? Don't you want to take a selfie with a Love Northborough statue? Something unique, something special. And, it just makes you stop and pause for a moment instead of just a road where you're racing from one stoplight to the next. So public art is also geared toward improving the look and feel of who we are and where we live, to connect us in opportunities that we haven't had or seen before, that maybe we can leverage, take advantage of. And part of what we do is, as one of the drivers from the MCC, Mass Cultural Council, is that we also connect with the underserved. So art, performances, it doesn't matter. You're working days, nights, what your income levels are, anything. It's for all of us. Let's see. And so I want to rally the cry that all of this is very much worthwhile. So I need to introduce also, and maybe this has already been spoken about before, but I just want to reemphasize it and clear up if there's any confusion. There's the NCC, Northborough Cultural Council. We are connected to the state, and we are one of 129 LCCs, local cultural councils. And we need to have a minimum of 5 members, 3-year terms, maxing out at 2 terms. There's another nonprofit group that was formed, I think August, Jen, you'll have to help me out here, August or October, September, somewhere in that time frame.
August. Mhm.
August, okay. The Northborough Cultural Council and the Northborough Arts Council. And their purpose, they created this as a nonprofit to assist fundraising that we cannot do as the NCC, to help fund maybe some of these public art or other events or things that goals that we have. They, as it says from their website, so I took this information from there, they have a secondary focus, and that's to also fund their own public art projects. So I just want to differentiate because the names are so similar. While they help to support us, they can do other things as well, but they are just starting. So not much, I'm not the appropriate person to speak any further beyond on that group. Next, please. Okay, so I want to mention there we go. Okay, February. So there's something going on all the time. And so instead of where we had a culture fest last year, and the year before, where it takes so many months of preparation and just a lot of work, we are doing these other events like the Porch Fest and Open Studios. And Jen really spearheaded this one called Warm Hugs, hats, undershirts, gloves, and socks. And so there are baskets, one in the town hall, I think at the senior center and library, could be elsewhere. And the idea is that people donate new items, and those will get to be distributed among those who need them in town. So, the idea is that if we have some sort of presence different times a year, we are really concerned about the well-being of our community. April, go outdoors. I mentioned that. May, open chairs, open studios, maybe the chairs, not sure about that. And June, Porch Fest. Next, please. Okay, I know this is not a huge finale, but I also want to shameless plug here for people who are watching or know of people who are interested. Come join us. Come to a meeting. You get to help shape what our community looks like, feels like, and support how we engage with each other. Our goal is to connect with people, connect the talent, connect the organizations. There's some great pictures earlier on of where you might recognize some faces where members of the Historical Society in their period garb, and just a lot of fun things that go on. We're a team and we create curiosity, explore diversity and cultures, and make it our own culture. That's what we're doing. I definitely need to thank our team. We are small but mighty, and I'm very grateful, and I wouldn't be able to do or sit here and tell you all of the things that we have done and are planning on doing without them. So I'm very grateful. I need to mention the Mass Cultural Council, the town of Northborough, who does help with some funding, but also the administration, or hey, have you heard of, or how do we do this, or how do we connect? All those things are really important. Even DPW could be, where do I go? How do I do this? Somebody will help us figure it out. And all of our legislators, past and current, because that funding for the arts and part of what we do, it really matters. And supporting the arts can be by attending something, going to see something at the library. There's Chinese calligraphy that went on. I mean, all these things are free. So go have fun. If you want hip hop, chair yoga at the senior center, you got it. Cultural Council helps make these fun things happen. So it's our culture. It's our Northborough. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Terry. That was an excellent presentation. A lot of good stuff come out of there, and a lot of good work that you guys have done already in the town, and definitely potential for the town through our committee and other people in town to work with you to get more things to happen. Are there any other questions or comments from people on the master plan committee before we let Terry go?
I have one question for Terry. Why is the door exhibit at Ellsworth Park only there from 4 to 6 weeks?
It has to do with, so we want to be able to auction them off. It's something that we wrestled with. It's called like a semi-permanent exhibit. I suppose we could extend it, but we would also want people to enjoy it and take home some art. And I guess people go away in the summer, so it's harder to attract those. Right now, we're about to have a call for artists, which again, that is really exciting as a town to say, we get to have a call for artists. I can explore that as to why not longer. And I also want to respond to Julianne. You talked about the apples. That is another, anybody ever been to a town where you see cows or something just like on the side of a street, or some farm animal or something, and they're painted bright colors? We are exploring apples in Northborough. They're on the more costly side. So again, we're exploring, but we hope to be able to do that. Might not be till next year, but something unique, something really special that's Northborough. And so these themes that we start to connect together, the wildlife, the apples, the pollinators, I think it exhibits that we care for our community, our people, And, you know, it's not just a trendy thing. I think anybody who has a younger person in their life understands that this is absolutely something that is very important and near and dear, so that we can preserve something for generations beyond. We are highlighting all of these great things.
Any other questions, comments for Terry?
Yeah, Lori and I have our hands up.
Okay.
I think
go
Lori
ahead.
was first, though.
Okay.
I defer to you, Ashley. Why don't you go ahead? I'll go second.
Oh, thanks. I was just curious, Terry, if there are any next steps or deliverables from the committee, you know, as we're moving forward, that you'd like us to take into consideration or roll into our planning.
Okay.
I
Now
would
I'm on the
say,
spot.
can I? Okay.
You
Yes,
don't have to
please.
get back to me now. I
Maybe-
just
Maybe I can
Yes.
pipe in on that. I would say that we are trying to build Northborough as an arts destination, as a place to bring a brand identity to Northborough aside from Apple Fest. We're trying to stretch that out a little bit. So Culture Fest is fabulous, but by implementing these new things this year with Porch Fest and Open Studios, it broadens the art from just the town common to hopefully we can use town common, other spots in town, as well as businesses, private studios that are here in town. It's amazing when you actually start to speak to people, how many artists and musicians there are here in our community and who are not able to open a storefront and who would love an opportunity to just showcase their stuff and do that. So I would say if there was anyone who is interested or you know, could make a sculpture that we don't know that are right here in town, rather than trying to find someone across the country. I mean, it's really networking and who do you know? And you all are very active in town. You know a lot of people. Maybe, you know, just by us talking about things, we can open doors that we didn't even know were available to be open here. And, you know, like Terry said, sort of the more people we talk to, the better we can make our town, really.
Yeah, this is a we. I keep talking about the we. I want to expand just for really quick what Jen was talking about. She is pursuing something and researching into, could we make Northborough a cultural district? It's going to be a hard push. It's going to mean a lot of work, but maybe it won't if we have the right people, the right interested parties. We let you know what we are thinking and have in mind, and then maybe opportunities arise that we can then pass off to the next group, because my term expires, I think, in 1.5 years. So that's my 6 years. I have to step back. And so again, you know, shameless plug to recruit, but to generate some of this interest, wouldn't it be cool? The apples, the Adirondack chairs, you have these interesting things, and then you create a community where people want to slow down, smell the coffee, do a yoga pose in front of the mural and have someone do a selfie. Could be some really great stuff. Why do you have to go far to, or Boston, or, you know, Springfield, Berkshires, to enjoy some of these great artistic opportunities or performances? Just stay right here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to put this into action for us as we're moving forward. So right now, for example, today Lori's going to talk about the Blake Street Initiative. Is there a way that we could, maybe there's a process we can go through to kind of solicit your input when we're working on these? You know, maybe there are small adjustments as we're moving forward with planning that you could say, you know, it'd be really great if this was made this way, it would really allow for a performance, or there, if you could allow for a space here, then there could be a sculpture. So you may have ideas that we don't. So it might be nice to have a sort of a process. I don't know, Lori, if you have an idea on that as we move forward.
Yeah, actually, I do. Actually, that's a really good segue to the question that I had, or the comments I wanted to make. first of all, I was really excited about the door project. I think that that is such an awesome idea, and I actually haven't seen that before, so I got really excited about it. So my Blake Street streetscape project, which the select board has awarded $250,000 worth of design money. So that will pay for engineering services to do the right-of-way for Blake Street, a portion of the right-of-way for Pierce Street, the municipal parking lot, and the little pocket park at the corner of Route 20 and Blake Street. So one of the comments that, actually a few of the comments that were made at the joint presentation with the MPIC and the select board was about kind of how ugly the railroad tracks are and how it would be great if there would be a way to kind of screen the railroad tracks. So one of the ideas was maybe fencing or maybe landscaping. But when I saw the doors, I thought that there might be some really interesting potential to put something like that kind of scattered where the railroad abuts the municipal parking lot, so that you are showcasing all that art, but make it more of a permanent exhibit if possible. Because I know, of course, those doors are probably going to be delicate. So I don't know if they could be like shellacked on top of the painting to kind of preserve it and make it more weather resistant. And even if that doesn't work, but something else that's similar to kind of use art as a screen for the railroad. And of course, you know, we have to stay outside of the railroad right of way. But there's definitely that area that's wide open currently to from the municipal parking lot to that railroad that could be much better than it currently is. So I kind of offer that up as a challenge to the cultural council to
Yes, and yes.
think of ideas.
So this is, I breezed over it. I don't have a picture. Suzanne Cox would probably have developed something more apropos to this, but if you can think of a larger version of the doors, but a metal mural, something, and like panels, large panels. And so again, this is something that's being developed. Suzanne had come up with this idea and brought it before the committee recently. We don't really have the funding for some of these things, but maybe there's a way to do it. One panel and then another panel and then something, or maybe there's granting or funding out there that can be applied for to beautify this area, because I know exactly what you're talking about. And I think to let that opportunity go by would be a shame. It's just beautiful. Again, huge compliment when somebody copies somebody else's ideas or art or takes selfies, you know, something unique. Have you ever gone to, I don't know, is it Providence maybe? Or there's different places that near RISD you can go where there's beautiful, or Portsmouth, New Hampshire, murals painted on little alleys. They have a restaurant, coffee shops, and me taking selfies with these beautiful murals, and you know, just something unique, and people share it and it creates buzz and like, wow, isn't this nice? And it just allows that mental space to say, yeah, this is good, this is really good.
I mean, it'd be really interesting to make it an open call for artists to kind of come up with their own design, because they could think of something completely different that maybe isn't a solid wall that you paint on, but is, you know, some sculptures or objects that might provide that screen in a less intrusive way, or who knows? It'd be really interesting to see what, you know, creative people come
you know,
up with.
maybe not like a fence, but maybe offset a little bit, so the
mhm.
wind and people can go through them, and it's somehow where it's works with the environment and with people and the need, and gives it some depth and feeling, and maybe it's a movable one. If I had my druthers, I would love to see a water sculpture behind the current fire station in the water, because wouldn't that be cool? And maybe a mural on Northborough House of Pizza, so you're coming or you're going, and you're moving through town, and as you're moving through town, you see these things, and it's a nice, it's great mental health, and people want to be here.
Yeah, I think that the railroad tracks in particular are a fantastic opportunity to turn what many people would see as a scar on the landscape into something really special and unique. There aren't too many towns who have railroad tracks right through the center of it. So this could be an opportunity to kind of make Northborough unique and special in a really cool way with art. And
Right.
even if there's, as part of that scheme to involve the railroad into the scheme, like maybe, some of those panels could be painted with railroad scenes or something like
Different
that.
things. That's a
Mhm.
long stretch of area to work with, so maybe there are phases. I'm just throwing things out there, but if that's something that the committee, really has in mind, all of these things that I've presented tonight are all the ability to connect the different parts of town and bringing the center of town. I call it the center, and you can stretch out where that is, where those circles are. There's just so much leeway that we can do. I mean, oh my goodness, we have so many art colleges and institutions all around us.
If I could just
There's
interrupt here for a second. This is all really good stuff. And I really appreciate your presentation, Terry. I think the committee has got a lot of excitement building around how we and the town can interact more effectively with what you guys are doing for the benefit of the town. I think just because we have a number of the things to get to on our agenda tonight, we have to
Yes, that's what I told you.
we have to move on
Okay.
for this. I think it'd be a good idea, just speaking to our committee, maybe put an agenda item on for our next meeting to talk more among ourselves about how we can leverage this relationship between the work we're trying to do for downtown revitalization and a lot of the great ideas that are coming out of the Northborough Cultural Council. Having Jen as a member of our committee and being active with the Northborough Cultural Council is a good interface point. And I think Lori could be a good interface point, also. So I think your presentation tonight has really given us a lot of ideas and a better understanding of kind of what the Northborough Cultural Council does. And I think we all see there's a lot of great ways we could interact. But I think for tonight, we should sort of tie a bow on this part of the presentation so we can get on next part of the agenda. So I thank you again very much
You're
for
very
spending the time.
welcome.
It was a great PowerPoint. And I think there's a lot of opportunity here for us to work together going forward.
There is, and I look forward to it. And this is part of the connections that I was talking about. This is yay.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you guys are doing. I understand we're all volunteers.
Okay. Thanks again, Terry. And we'll
Thank you.
definitely stay in touch.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Terry.
Thanks, Terry. Bye.
Bye.
Like I said, I think this may not be a bad item to include on next month's agenda, just to kick around a little bit more, kind of all the opportunities this could present to us and how we could leverage it more effectively. In the meantime, Lori, as you see things that you're starting to work on just in the short term, where there's, connecting back with Terry or through Jen with the Cultural Council, feel free to start to do that also. But I think we can develop a sort of a position as to how we want to leverage this, because I know we talk a lot about anything we could do in the short term to make the town look better is definitely to everybody's benefit. And certainly the Cultural Council seems to have a lot of ways to do that. So we need to talk through that. Okay. So we've talked about Blake Street sort of tangentially as we talked about this. And I think it'd be a good idea now to let Lori sort of tell us about kind of what's going on with Blake Street at this point and take it from there. So go ahead, Lori.
Yeah, so exciting news. So I went back before the Board of Selectmen after our meeting on the 18th. I think it was on the 22nd. And they were very excited and very supportive. They did take some comments from the public. Overall, I would say that the feedback was very good. And they unanimously agreed to allocate $250,000 for the design of this phase 1 project. So that was super exciting. So it means that we can move forward with the project earlier than I had originally envisioned. So what I plan to do is next week start working on the request for proposals. So I am interested in going out to bid. As you know, I've worked with a couple of vendors on streetscape projects, but I think it would be worth it to go out to see who else is doing this type of work and what they have accomplished on other projects, so that we can make sure that we pick a vendor who really fits the town of Northborough. So I think that's exciting. I have received a couple of kind of emails from folks who are interested in serving on the focus group. I have thought about some specific people, because of course, my goal with this group is to have it relatively small, just because it's so challenging to get people together. And I'm hoping, because of the engineering consultants, that I can find people who are willing to either come together on a Tuesday night or during the workday. So I do have some particular people in mind who wear a variety of hats. So they have a variety of perspectives. And then I think it's also a good idea to maybe get some fresh blood. As I had mentioned, definitely interested in targeting a business owner on Blake Street as well as a property owner. They may be one and the same. So haven't really made a lot of headway yet, because we've been so focused on finalizing the zoning package. So we do have the planning board public hearing on the zoning package on Tuesday night. So it'll be starting on Tuesday night. Don't really anticipate that it will close on Tuesday night. But definitely there are some articles that are actually implementation of recommendations in the master plan, as well as in the downtown revitalization plan. So if you're interested, I can go over those with you. I'll try to not be too verbose.
Before we get into that, just any feedback or comments or questions for Lori about kind of what's going on with Blake Street at this point? And as we need to keep in mind, it's a combination of Blake Street as well as turning at the end of Blake Street at the intersection of Blake and Pierce, making a right turn there and providing connectivity down Pierce Street to the municipal parking lot that's kind of on the corner of Pierce and Hudson. So what this project is looking at is not only Blake Street itself, but also going down Pierce Street to the east, down to where that municipal parking is, and considering that as also part of this project.
And I just wanted to point out one thing, that is the number one priority that was identified on the Complete Streets prioritization plan. So the number one project was Pierce Street. And although we're not
Lori, you just froze up on us.
While Lori's unfreezing, I was just gonna suggest that there be representation from the master plan implementation committee on the Blake Street work, just because we've been the most intimately involved with all the planning and working with the consultants, and it will address some of the ideas that the consultants had presented that came out of the most recent downtown plan. So I think it would be helpful to have, I don't know if that's part of Lori's plan because she didn't go through the roles that she'll have on her small committee, but
I think
It's
that's a
just-
good suggestion. If in fact Lori can rejoin the meeting, we should bring that up with her as part of this discussion. Let's just wait to see what happens because we need to complete this part and then she's going to lead the next agenda item also. Hopefully she can
I
get
might
that.
have to cut out for a few minutes, Rick, but I'll be back. So if I'm not here when she returns, maybe you can relay that for me.
Okay,
Thanks.
I was also thinking, a select board person should be representative on the board because they are gonna have to look for more funding in the future, whether it's grants or money. So it would be key, I think, to keep a select board member on the group. So they're up to date. That's just an idea I had.
Yeah.
Or even planning board, because if zoning has to change.
well, I think it'll be, part of the question will be the initial work, I think, will be around just trying to understand what's feasible and what's possible and a kind of understanding where the needs come. And then at that point, based on what's coming out of that, to sort of get other necessary people involved with the project also. So but there's got to be some sort of point where there's a group that just tries to get this thing launched and going, and then communications out of that group back to people who are going to be involved. But Lori's going to have to speak to about how many people she feels comfortable putting on the initial group and what skills she wants there. But I understand definitely keeping anyone who's going to have a role to play in this involved is important one way or another. So, Ashley, are you still with us?
She just said she had to jump off for a bit.
Yeah, I saw her name still up there. All right.
Did I fall off?
Yeah,
That's
you
so
did.
honest.
Yeah, so
Okay. I don't know how I fell off and all of you still stayed on since I'm the host, but weird.
A
so
little thing came up that said Gene Cahill was the host when you just fell off.
Oh, sweet.
I don't know
Okay.
if Gene knew it.
yeah. So while you were gone, there was some
It
talk
didn't show
the
on my
committee
end
about.
that I was host.
So
Well,
Lori,
thank you for taking the baton. So the whole meeting didn't fall apart. So
okay. So if everybody back playing the roles they're supposed to play at this point. Huh? Yeah, anyway, Lori, so while you were away, there was some just talk about the makeup of this focus group and people you're going to be working with. Ashley brought up the point about, should there be some representation with the MPIC on the group, to just sort of, given the fact that we've sort of been shepherding this thing along, kind of thing, and then about how the communication goes from the group back to the select board that's going to have to fund this, how closely should the group be working with that and with the planning board if zoning is going to have to change. So there was just some, some questions in getting a clearer picture about how this focus group would be formed and who you envision would be on it, at least at the beginning.
yes, I'm definitely interested in having MPIC input. And there's some other key boards and committees that I was interested in receiving feedback from. So I have an idea. I haven't actually reached out to folks. I wanted to talk to the town administrator first because I envision he'll be the appointing authority. But I certainly, after I speak with him, I'll start reaching out to folks. But there are a couple of people on here that I was specifically interested in targeting for the focus group. And then you can tell me if you're interested or not. If you're not interested, then certainly no hard feelings, no worries. So I'm trying to get kind of people from different points of view and different areas of expertise.
All right, well, let's carry this forward to the next meeting. After you had a chance to talk to Tim and you've got some better idea of what you're doing, let's sort of bring this up again and talk a bit more about where things are going and especially what this focus group is going to look like, also.
Sounds good.
as far as Blake Street goes, any other questions or comments for Lori at this point on Blake Street? I can understand with all that's gone on and trying to get the zoning ready for town meeting. It's been, and everything else going on her plate, that moving this project forward is, hasn't been the top priority, but at least the fact that we got the select board agreed to fund the project is a step in the right direction. So that's good.
Rick, just a quick comment on it. Only that every time I drive around down there, it's the traffic flow that interests me and how that can be modified and adapted. I know what we're living with now is partly a result of the state Route 20 realignments. What was that, 10 years back, whatever it is. And that it's a big deal to change a lot of things, but we touched on it a little bit, and I think that a traffic study is part of Lori's plan, but that's instrumental in the whole flow of things, particularly if we consider the one-way of Blake and then how that affects coming and going. How do you get on to Blake and so on? So I just comes to my mind every time I'm in that area, that it's the result of kind of a bunch of disjointed changes and older buildings, and that'll be a large part of the challenge on top of the beautifications that are maybe easier to approach.
Yeah, it's kind of like the downtown revitalization project. There's a dream that maybe things could be improved, and maybe we could do the one way. But if there's a traffic study done and that's found to be impossible, then we'll just keep things the way they are, or maybe we'll come up with new ideas that will improve the situation. So I'm not a traffic engineer, so I think it's worth studying the question to see if there is a better alternative than what we currently have. But I by no means am saying at this point that it has to be one way. It's just kind of, well, let's explore it and see what we can do.
Right. There's no doubt that.
Julianne has her hand up.
No, I don't see her on my screen. Okay, go ahead, Julianne.
Sorry. So one group that I think could really help with this focus group is the Historic District Commission. There's some historic buildings there, and they, they're pretty knowledgeable about preserving historic buildings in town, and what buildings require demolition delays and all of that sort of thing. But the other question I have is, it's been mentioned a couple times that the Ellsworth tree is not thriving. Are we going to get an analysis of that place where you want to do the pocket park? Is it the wrong tree in the wrong place, or is there something wrong with the soil there? And how are you looking to figure that out?
Yeah, I mean, this is a comment that I heard from the tree warden. So the tree warden is Scott Sharpens here. So originally my plan was to keep all of the trees in place and work around them. He had mentioned that tree is starting to decline, like all of us. Some of us maybe more quickly than others. So I would absolutely like to get the tree evaluated. If it's declining, then it may make sense to make a change at this point. But if it still has a certain number of years left, then, possibly it can be retained for at least the short term. But like I said, that's one of the questions that is just too early to answer. So when we get a design firm on board, a key member of the team will be a landscape architect. And so they will be making suggestions for improvement. And then the focus group will be advising them as to what they like and what they don't like. And then even above and beyond that, there will be the community outreach session. So like I had mentioned, my goal is to have a community outreach session at around the 25% design phase. So then we can present the ideas at that time and receive feedback. And then either go forward with a design that everybody likes or make some modification. Actually, I shouldn't even say that. We're never going to get 100% agreement on anything. I have never had that experience. There's always people that are going to not like something. So the key is to find a design that appeals to the majority of people. Sure,
Amy, go ahead.
Amy.
I just had a quick question. When we were talking at the last meeting, the cost was like 100,000 for the design, but now it's 250. I was wondering, does that include the traffic study too? How much does the 250,000 include?
So the 250, actually, I had to go back to the meeting because I saw your changes to the meeting minutes, and I'm like, when did I ever say 100,000? Because for years I've been saying 200 to 250,000. I think maybe I may have understood your question to be isolate Pierce Street alone. How much do you think that that'll be? Because when you put the Pocket Park, you put the municipal parking lot, you put the Pierce Street right of way, you put the Blake Street right of way, I expect it, and possibly those private parking lots, I expect the design to be in the neighborhood of 250,000. It may even be more than that, but I definitely expect it to be in the neighborhood of that. $100,000 is probably more likely the design of the Pocket Park. Or maybe
The
just
town
Blake
common
Street
was
alone.
only 60,000. That's why maybe for the design part of it. I don't know.
But the dog park, the
I guess
dog
costs
park,
have gone
believe it
up.
or not, is I think we're on like 175,000 at this point.
Wow.
So the costs go up exponentially every single year. And when you think of the construction costs, the design costs tend to be around 10% of that. And this design that I'm thinking about involves adding stormwater drainage where currently there is none. So that is going to increase the price tag. There's no drainage in the roadway nor in the municipal parking lot. So that's a big ticket item.
Does it include the traffic study too? That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, so I'm not envisioning like a formal traffic study that you typically see as submitted before the planning board. It's kind of that there's going to be a traffic engineer who's going to be part of the team. So the traffic engineer is going to be, looking at the geometry and providing feedback on, the traffic circulation. So that's kind of what I was envisioning, but I haven't gone out to bid yet. So, all of this is kind of guesswork at this point, how much things are going to cost. It's not until we go out to bid that I really will know the true dollar figure.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead, Jillian.
Lori, I personally think that whatever the traffic person is that you hire, that's going to be one of the most critical parts of this project, because if people can't get in and out easily, it might be unfortunate that people just don't go there, and it will be a beautiful spot. So I would say, whatever money you have to spend there, it's well deserved.
Yeah, I mean, even if the roadway remains the current configuration, which I have to say, as somebody who uses it, it's not ideal the way it is currently, especially for people who aren't familiar with the circulation pattern. But there are many improvements that can be made regardless of whether it's a one-way street or a two-way street. you don't get quite as much landscaping and your sidewalks aren't going to be as wide. But it can definitely be an improved picture about over what currently exists.
Amy, go ahead.
Yeah, I just, before you go out for the design phase, will the decision be made on 4 West Main Street? I just would hate to like design the roadway and the street if we don't know if it's gonna be a commercial use, if it's gonna be the town hall. I don't know if that will affect how the circulation and the parking will be, or how much parking we need.
I don't think the decision is going to be totally made because it's not up to the consultants. They're going to make a recommendation and then ultimately town meeting is going to decide what they're going to fund and what they're not going to fund. But certainly chances are the decision will be made long before this project, the design is finalized.
Okay, because you
So
would
I would
hate
like to
to,
get moving because otherwise we're gonna delay another whole year. So
Yeah.
there, we're not gonna gain anything by getting the ARPA funds.
I would just hate to see it all designed and then have 4 West Main Street decided to be like town hall and have the Bleecker Street design not go along with that. As long as they both can mesh together.
I think the plan is gonna be very similar regardless of whether it's town hall or not. The reality is that right now you have a sea of pavement. So you have really poor pedestrian access. You don't have any drainage. So there are some problems that are the same regardless of whether it's going to be, leased by the town for a mixture of uses or whether it's going to be town hall and some other uses.
I think also that by the time the RFP is written and the bids go out and interviews are happening and something is selected, a number of months are going to go by and the town hall assessment will continue. We can keep plugging into where that stands kind of thing. But I think there's a good likelihood that it'll be fairly clear where that's going before anything really starts on the design of this. The main thing,
I
Rob, was
fully
just
expect
get the process
this,
going.
once we have a designer hired, it's going to take a full year to complete the design. So things move slowly. And of course, the consultants tend to have other projects that they're fitting our project around. So even though it may not seem like that complicated a project, I fully expect it to take a full year.
Any other questions or comments for Amy on this? All right, well, I think, like I said, we'll bring this back next month, get a better idea of the discussions Amy's had with the administrator and also better feel of kind of what this focus group and committee is going to look like, and we can discuss that again also. Okay, the next agenda item, discussion of next steps. I was talking to Lori about this over the past week. There are a number of zoning changes that are going to be proposed and reviewed at the public hearing next week that impact the downtown area. And so what I've asked Lori to do is give us an update as to those particular zoning items. And I'd like to get a discussion going among us as an MPIC about the zoning because as chair of the committee, I'd like to be able to present at the public hearing next week some statements about where the MPIC stands on the zoning. And I don't really want it to be what Rick Leaf thinks about the zoning. I really want it to be what the MPIC thinks about the zoning. And there are some of the changes will have some impact on downtown revitalization, the ability to move forward with things in the future. So I'm going to let Lori sort of explain to us those zoning changes that affect the downtown and then get some feedback from the committee about those. So go ahead, Lori.
All right, so can you guys see the screen okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the key changes that we're going to be discussing and going forward with most likely at the April town meeting is this whole MBTA zoning bylaw that you folks have been talking, that we've been talking about for probably about a year and a half now. So a little bit of background is that back in 2021, the governor signed a new law into play, which mandates towns. So there are 175 communities that are impacted. So it mandates communities that are identified as MBTA communities. So those are ones that have rapid transit, bus service, as well as commuter rail service. And then the communities that are adjacent to those communities that have access. So Northborough is one of those communities. So the 175 communities were given a timeline by which we need to comply with the new law. And there are different standards for different types of communities. So Northborough is an adjacent community. And what that means is that we need to identify an area, a zoning district that contains at least 50 acres of developable land. And we need to allow multifamily zoning as a by right use within that area. So we can include multiple areas of town. However, no area can be smaller than 25 contiguous acres. So one area has to be that size. And then no area can be smaller than 5 contiguous acres. So I've been working with the planning board for a long time now, over a year, to put together this zoning bylaw. And we've finally gotten to the point where the planning board is looking for feedback on our locations. So this is a zoning map of the town, and it's kind of rough to see because the areas are too small, are so small. But we have 2 different sub-districts that we are interested in including within the MBTA overlay district. So one area is the Southwest Connector sub-district. And that area consists of 3 parcels of land, and these are blown up here. So the lion's share of the land is already developed. It is developed at the density of 9 units per acre, and that is Avalon, Northborough. Then there is another undeveloped parcel of land. There is actually an easement to this parcel, which follows along the easement for Avalon. So it does have some access to this parcel. And then there is a third parcel, and this parcel right here is the O'Connell Lodge. Now, the reason why we're interested in including the O'Connell Lodge in the MBTA overlay is that it's long kind of been an underutilized property that has had a lot of issues in the past. It's had issues with the septic system. It's had issues with crime. So this would be a good opportunity to see a revitalization, an alternative use that may be better than what we currently have. So as you know, there is a restaurant on this parcel as well. This restaurant has been closed for a few years now, and the reason is the septic system is incapable of supporting both the O'Connell Lodge and the restaurant, so they had to make a choice, and the choice that they made is to serve the O'Connell Lodge instead of the restaurant. Now, sewer exists right over the line, so this is the Christmas tree shop in the town of Shrewsbury. They've also been looking at possibly including this shopping mall within their MBTA overlay. So this may be a good opportunity for us to work together on a project and maybe see some relief for this property's septic system problem. So does anybody have any questions about this particular area? Okay. So you folks are probably more interested in the next slide. So I've been advocating hard for the inclusion of land within Northborough Center. And one of the main reasons for that is, of course, our downtown revitalization plan report, which said that we need to have more density in our downtown. And also the fact that we're interested in doing a downtown revitalization project. And a lot of the grant money is following this MBTA requirement. So the state uses carrots and sticks whenever they want communities to do things. So the stick, of course, is the mandate that the town adopt this zoning district, but then they follow the stick with a carrot, and that takes the form of grant money. So there's a brand new grant program that was just unveiled within the last couple of months. And this grant program will pay for infrastructure improvements, including streetscape improvements. And the average award is going to be somewhere around $2.5 million. So there isn't going to be any, they haven't identified a specific top dollar figure for a project, but they said that this is what they anticipate the average award to be. So after lots of debate, the parcels that the planning board decided to include are 56 Harvey Street. So this is an industrial property currently. So there is an old mill building. And then you may have noticed that there is some construction work that's happening now. So this front mill industrial building was demolished, and they're going to be building a new addition, which is in progress. They haven't built it yet. So this property has potential long-term to be something other than what is currently used as, which is Maytag Instruments. The same property owner owns this parcel across the street. This parcel has frontage directly on the river. So this could be like a little pocket park. The planning board did receive a presentation from the property owner. He also owns a 13-acre parcel across the street that includes this parking lot. And he was proposing, I believe, 97 units of multifamily. So they'd be 3-story buildings, 9 to 10 units per building. So the planning board didn't elect to include this parcel at this time because they thought it was a greater priority to include a Harvey parcel. So even though I have the entire parcel highlighted at this time, the planning board is only interested in including 5 acres. I still highlighted the entire parcel because we haven't fully run the analysis to determine how much of all of these lands is actually excluded land versus developable land. We have to get to 50. I'm a bit concerned that we are too tight in our number and that we might fall below the 50-acre figure. So there may be an opportunity to include more than 5 acres of Harvey, but I don't know what that number is. So of course the Harvey parcel, as you all know, is dumpster storage currently. Then we have included the existing town offices, assuming that the town offices will eventually move. We included Heritage Village. So this is the Housing Authority property that's already built at the density of 17 units per acre. And then there's another private condominium development just to the north of that. That's pretty much built out. So a lot of the land that is actually included within the overlay has very little development potential. But there is some. So the Harvey land could be developed into housing in accordance with the plan that Weston and Sampson put forward. Of course, there could be adaptive reuse of units here in the town hall. So that's probably really the only potential for development here. With the Avalon development, there may be the potential for them to add to their existing inventory of units. And then there's the O'Connell Lodge, and there's that undeveloped parcel. So a little bit of the specifics of the zoning district. So in this zoning district, the uses that would be allowed are townhouses and multifamily homes. Those would be by right uses. Mixed use developments may or may not be by right uses. So the way the bylaw was written is that if a use requires a special permit, so a non-residential use requires a special permit into the underlying zoning district, then it would still require a special permit. But of course, residential uses are excluded from that. So those would always be by right. So the development would be subject to site plan review by the planning board. Most of the dimensional requirements would be identical to the underlying zoning. There is one exception, and that is the density requirement. So if you're building new attached townhouses, the maximum density would be 8 dwellings per acre. If you're building multifamily, new, or mixed use, so that could be commercial on the first floor with apartments above, the maximum density would be 15 units per acre. And if you're doing the adaptive reuse of an existing building, the developer would just have to demonstrate how many units they could fit within that building that made sense. So I actually have a picture of a great adaptive reuse example that I'm gonna showcase you in a minute. So we also include a number of design standards that are above and beyond those that are typically required for site plan review. So these apply to buildings, walkways, curbing, off-street parking, outdoor lighting, landscaping, and there is a common open space requirement. So if you're in the southwest sub-district, the minimum open space set aside is 40%. If you are in the downtown area, the minimum open space requirement is 20%. So then there's also a requirement that if you have a development that consists of 10 or more dwelling units, 10% of those must be affordable for low income. Now we're doing we did receive a technical assistance grant. So RKG, who was our consultant on the downtown project, is doing an analysis, an affordability analysis for us. They're looking at our 2 sub-districts to determine if it will be affordable for developers to include a greater percentage above and beyond the 10% for affordable housing. So the idea is to only go above the 10% if they can demonstrate that a development can actually be built. So it's actually affordable for them to include greater than 10%. So that's like a mathematical equation that looks at the specific areas of town and what housing units are renting or selling at in that particular area of town. So we're still waiting to hear on that. So aggregate information about, sorry, the district is 59.23 acres of land. Of that, about half of this, so maybe about 5 acres, has already been identified as excluded land because it has some sort of environmental constraint that makes it limits the development potential. So like I said, we only have about, I think, 2.5 acres to play with, and we still have to rerun that analysis on all of our selected parcels to determine if there's more excluded land. So the total number of parcels we're talking about are 9. And I just wanted to identify on this slide how the choice that we made advances goals that were specifically articulated in the 2020 master plan and the 2023 downtown revitalization plan report. So the top 3, those are all master plan goals. And then the bottom one is a downtown revitalization plan goal. So I thought that that was really interesting. Does anybody have any questions about that bylaw?
I guess one question I would have on the Harvey property would be, if in fact it turns out that we don't end up with 50 acres based on looking at excluded land as that analysis completes, and it turns out that somehow if we take the excluded land out, we fall below the required 50 acres, what is the issue with including more of the Harvey property to get us back up to the 50 acres, or to include all the Harvey property, which seems to be, you know, very developable?
Yeah, one of the, so some of the comments that were discussed, and certainly Amy and Millie, feel free to jump in, but my understanding of the feedback from the planning board members is they were concerned with ultimately how many units could result. So it was a simple calculation of 5 acres times 15 units per acre equals 75 units, I believe. So the concern was that if more land was included, then that would mean more units. This property does have a number of environmental constraints. It does have a river, and it is protected by the Rivers Protection Act, which means that there is a 100-foot no build buffer, as well as a second 100-foot buffer, which is mitigation. And then there are also steep slopes on this side. So I do not believe that property could be developed at a maximum density of 150 units. So that's 10 acres times 15 units per acre. But there was concern among the planning board members that 150 units would be too much.
Maybe, go ahead.
Yep, that was my main concern. Because even at 5 acres, it allows up to 75 units. And across the street where there were 14 acres, he was going to be able to he was putting 99 units or 97 units on 3 acres. So I felt with the 5 acres in 75 units might be acceptable to the town, but 150 units all at once downtown was a lot. When we went to the high school and there were all the stickers on the table, for what they wanted to see downtown, housing stickers were left over. Plus, with the original master plan, there were a lot of no high density comments on some of the surveys. So we wanted to take it slow. And if we meet our 50 acres, any developer can come to us in the future and want to be added in. Even if someone bought Harvey, they could come back and say, you know, what if we do all 10 acres, but we add another 20 apartments, but they're 1 bedroom. We can always add in more acres in the future, but we wanted to start slowly. So I guess we'll wait and see how it comes back when the analysis is done and take it from there.
Yeah.
But if you have too many units all at once and it goes to town meeting and the people who did the survey see a high density project being proposed, it could fail at town meeting. We wanted something that the residents would accept, and we could add to it if we ever needed, but we wanted to start slow.
Okay.
I think the other issue was what that would do to traffic, which obviously falls out of the, number of units.
Yeah, the traffic be generated both on Hudson Street and Route 20.
Mm-hmm.
Other comments or questions about zoning? Go ahead, John.
2 questions. One specific, Lori, what did you say about the property, I guess kind of north on Hudson, across from the Matec, that you're not including? Is that because there's an ongoing potential development, so you're, or it's already zoned appropriately?
It's not zoned appropriately. So the concern was that by adding this 14-acre parcel, so like I said, it has a lot of environmental challenges, mostly a large amount of steep slopes and ledge outcroppings along the back end. Is kind of like an elbow. So the elbow, so this portion right here, isn't really developable, but this portion right here, so the parking lot that you can see where my cursor is, and then there's also some relatively flat or less challenged land in the wooded area here. So that is where they plan to concentrate all of the development. And so the planning board was concerned that the combination of the Harvey property and this property would result in too many units with too many cars on Hudson Street. So they are thus far unwilling to include both properties. It's one or the other.
Understood. Second question, more general, about understanding how zoning works and the MBTA law, if I can call it that. Is it, correct me if I'm wrong, if you pass a zoning change in town that allows by right development for the categories you mentioned, then, and you meet the acreage, then you've met the requirements of the state law. It doesn't mean that you're starting developments, only that you've designated those zones to be developable for that. Is that true? Because basically you're highlighting properties that already have businesses on them. But once you designate that and it passes, then you've met the state law?
Yes, pretty much. So they are not demanding that anything actually be developed at this point. What they're saying, and they're not requiring it to be undeveloped land. So what they are requiring is that we have developable land, regardless of whether there's a building on it, that we have land that is capable of being developed, that consists of a minimum of 50 acres of developable land and that it can possibly be developed at 15 units per acre. That doesn't mean that it has to be. So we could designate the Harvey property and somebody could come in and say, hey, I just want to do single family homes. So here we've got 10 single family homes and that's all I'm going to do. Or they could, do 75 condos or, so it doesn't mandate anything. It just gives the opportunity to do something more than what currently exists in the underlying zoning.
Thank you for explaining.
Other questions or comments? I guess my position, or the position, hearing not a lot of comments, I guess the position I want to take with the planning board on Tuesday is that from a downtown revitalization perspective, allowing the possibility of more multifamily to be developed over time is consistent with kind of what we heard from the consultants about revitalizing the downtown and having more people living in and around it. What's going on down in the southwest corner of the town on Econo Lodge and Avalon is kind of outside of the scope of downtown revitalization. But as far as what we're seeing on this map, that, we would be in favor and support of it. Especially I'm sure there'll be comments at the public hearing opposing the town conforming with the MBTA law. If you've been reading the papers and following what's going on across those communities in the Commonwealth that have been asked to do this, there's been widely varying approaches. Some towns have presented zoning, some towns have been fighting over the zoning. You're probably aware that the town of Milton had a referendum at the ballot where they decided not to do this. When they have a representative form of town meeting that in December passed zoning that would conform, and they got enough signatures on a petition to have a ballot question come up. And yesterday at the election, the town rejected the zoning, which now puts Milton out of conformance, and there's a lot of threatening verbiage going on between the state and the town of Milton. So, I'm not sure what the town of Northborough's reaction is going to be. I think the position that I would take on behalf of the committee is that we feel that this zoning is consistent with what we're trying to do in the downtown and just sort of present it at that standpoint. So I guess I'd also be interested in any comments about, me going to the public hearing next week and, expressing that opinion in support of the way the zoning is going to be proposed. Any comments or questions about that? Go ahead, Julian.
Well, I'd agree with what you just said, Rick. It's certainly a cornerstone of revitalization downtown for that parcel. I guess the question I would have is, are we trying to meet the 50-acre requirement that the MBTA community bylaw requires, or are we taking a very constructive, forward-looking look at providing opportunities for more housing in the town? So I think, right now you've got 9 parcels and you're plus or minus the 50 acres. I would agree with Amy that you want to be, take things slowly. But by the same token, the state bylaw provides an opportunity for people in communities that want to support additional housing to provide, opportunities for that. For example, and I'm assuming this is one article and that all 9 parcels are either going to be voted up or down. But assuming they're voted up, is there any thought to looking further down the road to come back with other possible locations where this type of housing could be provided. Now, the parameters that are in the bylaw that's proposed, 8 units for townhouses and 15 units for apartments, is a reasonable density for a town like Northborough. It is not high-density housing, and it could certainly set the stage for future opportunities. And I think looking at, for example, other parcels in the Southwest Cutoff that are not in or near existing residential areas could support more multifamily housing. And a thought that I've had, and I think I've mentioned it at least once, when you look at the zoning map of Northborough and what future development is out there, a lot of it is actually industrially zoned land. And as Marlborough has done, there could be opportunities for multifamily housing in place of industrial development that could meet housing goals that the town might have. So I guess I'm just hoping that with this step, there is success at town meeting, but also that it provides opportunity for more reasonable multifamily development in the town in the future.
Thanks, Gene. Amy?
Yeah, when you do that though, too, you do have to have the discussions with the schools and all the other municipal services just to make sure it doesn't crush one of the schools. My kids were at Proctor when Avalon went in, and it really was a big impact on the school. And also there are a lot of seniors in town who want to retire in place and they want to keep their taxes lower. And if you look at the Avalon development, in 2021, they paid $1.4 million in taxes. They had 170 kids in the school system. And I was told it's $20,000 per kid to put them through the school system, which costs $3.4 million. So there's a $2 million deficit with the extra children. And so that has to be covered by the taxpayers. And so I think we have to be careful with that too. And also talk about municipal services. There's a lot to take into account if we're going to be adding housing.
I was
Millie,
looking, because I did actually add a couple of slides, but not on this version of the presentation about the schools. I did actually print out the picture. Let's see if I can find it. So the school population between the 2004 here we are. So in the 19-year period between the 2004-2005 school year and the 2023-2024 school year, student enrollment has decreased by 422 students, or 13%. So the most notable decline has occurred in the last 8 years. So they kind of like fluctuated up and down during that initial 12-year period of time, and then they've kind of gone off the cliff over the last few years. So the school enrollment has decreased significantly. There are typical fluctuations that happen year by year, which is basically due to population statistics. Like I know, for example, my parents were part of the baby boom generation. And then my generation decreased significantly. So during the period of time when I was going through school, they ended up shutting. I actually grew up in Milton, so Milton is my hometown. So in the town of Milton, they closed an elementary school because there wasn't enough kids to populate it. And then my sister is 13 years younger than me, and she was part of the Echo Boom population. So they ended up opening up that school again because of the population swelled once again. So there are typical fluctuations in age cohorts. So,
All right, well,
but anyway,
I just want to keep the focus on this discussion tonight on the downtown zoning. I mean, there's a lot of issues that go around multifamily housing in the short term and the long term kind of thing. I know Millie, you had your hand up. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, Rick, I just wanted to clarify if when you're talking next week, whether you felt you should express that the board is supporting the MBTA zoning mandate, or whether or not just you might express that this is in alliance with the master plan, because I think they're two different things.
Yeah, my focus would be to say that our committee, the MPIC, is supportive of this particular rezoning plan of the downtown area here because it's consistent with the possible development of additional multifamily housing near the downtown, which is consistent with getting more people living near it and becoming, users of the downtown facilities we plan to develop.
Okay, I think that was an important distinction. I just want to make sure it was clear.
Do we take a vote to that effect, Rick?
Can I just make a comment? real
Unless
quick?
if there's any more comments, go ahead, Ashley.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't here for the beginning of the discussion. I had to step away for a minute, but I'm just curious. So the Harvey property itself, does do the outcomes that were recommended in the downtown plan, is this change required to allow those to happen or not? Because I'm curious, just because Harvey, I know the Open Space Committee has been talking about, being a really great location for parks and open space, like what we saw in the downtown plan. I just want to be careful that we're making sure we're able to do that. But obviously, if we have to make this change in order to see out the downtown plan recommendations, then it
So
makes sense. But that's
Were
my
you,
question.
were you plugged in, Lori, at the beginning when it was the current plan, the outline that's drawn around Harvey is not what the zoning is recommending. The zoning is only recommending 5 acres of the Harvey property, and it's the 5 acres. I think, Lori, it's closest to Hudson Street, right?
yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So right
Right now,
now,
the zoning does not include this. Lori had mentioned that she drew this line just to indicate there could be a possibility that if we don't exactly meet the 50 acres that we need right now, we've got 59 acres, but some of that may not be buildable. And there's an analysis going on to see if all of this zoning conforms. If it doesn't, they may open up discussion about including a little more Harvey property. But for now, the zoning as proposed only includes 5 acres of the Harvey property.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I was not here for that part, so thank you
Yeah.
for answering that again. Apologies.
so the portion of the Harvey property that abuts Route 20 is within the Main Street Residential Zoning District, which is pretty much a single family zoning district. So you really can't do mixed use. You can't do virtually anything but single family homes. They might allow duplexes, but that's it. So if this half is included in the MBTA and that's it, this is not really developable other than for single family.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, I just want to make one comment. Since the MBTA overlays have been discussed, developers have come forth with different areas that they want to develop. Because this is higher density for towns. And, for them, a lot of developers are interested. So if somebody did come and they wanted to build on the 5 acres of Harvey, and they came with a really great plan and said, we'll do your river walk, we'll do your park, we'll do some commercial, then there's no reason why the planning board couldn't open up to the rest of it being part of the MBTA overlay. But if you include it all right now, there's no incentive to do anything but housing, because then they have all 10 acres and they can do 150 units and they don't have to do anything else because they're going to make their money on the housing. So by including the 5 right now, even though Lori says it's only MSR district on the front, which is single family housing, it doesn't mean we couldn't rezone it if a developer came forth and said, I want to do what you wanted in your downtown revitalization plan. Then I think the planning board would be open and excited to, open it up to the rest of the development. And I think developers know they can ask for that because we've had a couple come to us already.
Mhm.
All right. Getting back to Jean's comment, I'm not sure we have to take a formal vote on this. Once again, I'm not hearing objections from members of the committee to have me, present to the planning board Tuesday that basically we support the MBTA zoning as far as it goes for the downtown at this point. Once again, I think my purpose in doing that is I'm assuming that during the public hearing, there'll probably be opinions raised opposing either the MBTA zoning in total or this particular part in the downtown. And I just want to get out on the table that there is interest across the town in downtown revitalization, and that our committee feels that some addition of multifamily housing near the downtown would be beneficial to help move downtown revitalization forward. That's be the focus of my comments.
But Rick, there is a bit of dissent just about the Harvey piece itself, so I would make that a note or a sub note in that when you're saying there's support for this, because I think generally there is, but we want to ensure that the Harvey parcel is used in the way that the downtown plan recommended. And it's just still not clear to me just based on the comments, and I don't know how this all works, but I think there's some concern with that individual parcel, but otherwise.
Okay, I can mention that, although once again, the way the zoning is being proposed, only a part of the Harvey property is included in the MBTA zoning.
Right, okay.
Okay. Okay, then I think there's some zoning changes having to do with groundwater that also have an impact on the ability to redevelop the downtown. And I'd like Laura to take a few minutes and explain to us what's being proposed as far as zoning the downtown related to groundwater protection overlays.
Yeah, so this is the one other major bylaw change that I wanted to call your attention to. So one of the things that really became clear, especially with a project that went before the ZBA within the last year, and of course Fran is familiar with this one. This is 78 West Main Street. It really became clear to me what an impediment the groundwater protection overlay district is to the revitalization activities in the downtown. So the vast majority of the downtown business district, all of the downtown neighborhood district, and all of the multifamily, the MSR district, are within the groundwater protection overlay. And with that, so the bulk of it is within Area 3. And with Area 3, there is a mandatory upsize to 20,000 square feet. So in the downtown business district, the minimum lot size is 4,000 square feet. But with the exception of a couple of parcels, almost none of those districts actually have a 4,000 square foot minimum lot size because of the overlay. So the overlay bumps that up to 20,000 square feet. And if you're in Area 2, it bumps it up to 40,000 square feet. So when you look at just the downtown neighborhood and downtown business districts alone, there are 58 non-conforming lots. So that means if somebody wants to develop or expand, so if they want to put a large addition on or they want to change the use and they don't have 20,000 square feet or 40,000 square feet, then they need to go to the ZBA for a dimensional variance. And those are, supposed to be really hard to get. So there is a disincentive in our zoning bylaw because of this groundwater protection overlay. And the important thing to note is typically when you see a mandatory upsize in the minimum lot size, it's because lots are trying to accommodate both a well and a septic system. So of course, there are setback requirements between wells and septic systems. So you need to have a lot that is of sufficient size to accommodate both. But in these areas of our downtown, they're 100% sewered and they're 100% served by public water. So there's no need for a septic system or a well. Now, there may be somebody who has chosen not to tie in to public sewer. So in those circumstances, they would still be held to the minimum lot size requirement. So it's only those lots that are not tied in that would be able to get relief from the mandatory upsize of 20,000 square feet. So essentially what this bylaw does is it makes commercial uses. So right now we have certain commercial uses that are considered to be by right uses, and those are retail and offices. And then we have other uses that are special permit uses. So this can include commercial uses that deal with toxic and hazardous waste, which is 100% appropriate, but it can also include things like restaurants and personal service establishments like, a spa or a hair salon. Those are considered special permit uses. So that means that they have to go through a lot of review from the ZBA, which includes they have to submit a list of all of the shampoos that they use. To demonstrate, they have to get special forms to demonstrate that the shampoo doesn't have any, toxic waste in it, which kind of in my mind seems a bit overkill. If it had toxic waste in it, then certainly it wouldn't be used on people's hair. So this is the whole point of this bylaw, is to kind of make us be more business friendly, and make it easier to revitalize. And also single family homes are currently by right uses, but 2-family homes are not, and multifamily homes are not. So they would be grouped in with single family homes and commercial uses as by right uses. So the only types of commercial uses that would still be considered special permit are those that deal with toxic and hazardous waste. Everybody else would be considered by right uses. However, they still would be held to the same standard as far as infiltrating groundwater, limiting impervious surface, and keeping their septic system to a manageable size. So those requirements would still be held just as by right uses. So they'd be enforced by the building department in conjunction with town engineer or assistant DPW director, whoever is holding the position. It may be a consulting engineer. Anybody have any questions about that one?
This one seemed to me for downtown revitalization to be somewhat of a no-brainer. I mean, everybody's connected to water and sewer for the most part. If opportunities open up in the future where businesses want to sell and developers want to come in and put in uses, you know, that conform with what we foresee as being things that people in town are looking for, that if they don't have to maintain either a 20,000 square foot or 40,000 square foot lot size, if they can go down to the underlying zoning and use 4,000 square foot lots, it just seems to be, removes a huge obstacle. So this one seems to be particularly beneficial to future downtown revitalization. So this is another one that I would attempt to speak to on behalf of the committee at the public hearing, just saying that our committee, you know, supports this particular change to the zoning as a way to encourage over time revitalization of the downtown. Any other comments or questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
You know, water is water and groundwater is really important. Do we have any information about, you know, changing the zoning and any threat that would be to our wells? I know we don't use our wells, but I remember going to an MVP meeting and someone said we were really lucky to have those wells in the event that we needed them. So and like, what do you do? Do you hire a water expert to say this is not going to affect your groundwater?
Yeah, so there is a requirement as part of this. These uses would still be within the groundwater protection overlay. It's just a matter of when it comes to development, they would be by right uses instead of special permit uses. So they still have to provide the same level of documentation when it comes to construction. So they would still have to provide drainage calculations and, you know, engineered drawings. If they have catch basins, then they'd have to do deep sump catch basins to separate out the oil and antifreeze or whatever else might fall from the car. So we're still requiring them to adhere to all of those requirements. Right now, you know, one of the things that I think is kind of silly, like I had mentioned about the shampoo, we do the same for like hand cream. So, you know, these vendors are required to give us a list of all of the hand creams that they use and the chemical substances that they have within there. And of course, hand cream is, we all use it and we wash our hands and it goes down the drain and it goes into the sewer system and it is treated like all of the other stormwater. You know, I don't know too many people who are dumping large quantities of hand cream into the river on purpose, or I mean, even accidentally. Even if you have a box of hand cream and you drop it in the parking lot, you just pick up the box and you proceed along your way. So I don't see that there is any risk from these particular types of uses. There are certain commercial uses where we're talking about service stations and gas stations that I would be concerned about. You know, certain manufacturers that are dealing with large quantities of harmful chemicals. We should absolutely be on top of them. But I don't think we have to have this level of interference with the little mom and pop barber shop.
Other
I don't
comments?
think there's a risk.
Other comments or questions about this particular change to the zoning? Okay, hearing none, once again, when this particular item comes up at the public hearing, I will, indicate that the Master Plan Implementation Committee is in favor of this item as a way to, enhance the ability to do downtown revitalization over time.
So there's just one more that I kind of wanted to call your attention to. We've been talking quite a bit about signs, and the planning board tried 2 years ago to get a sign bylaw passed, and unfortunately it was unsuccessful at town meeting. So we've been working together with design review to modify the bylaw that was put forth a couple of years ago and come up with something new that people might like a bit better. And we think we have it. And Amy has really led the charge on this one. And so she might want to talk about it. But this bylaw allows a greater variety of commercial signs than are currently permitted today. For example, window signs would be permitted, but there are standards set forth on the window signs to ensure that they're not cluttering up the entirety of windows and that they're done very tastefully. And also there's certain design standards within the downtown business district. The design review committee would have the power to review projecting wall freestanding signs. There might be one more. And provide feedback to the building inspector. There would be no additional fee. It would be the same turnaround time as for a typical sign permit. But they would be able to chime in on the design of those signs in the downtown business district only. So Amy, is there something I missed that you'd like to add?
I don't have the bylaws in front of me. I didn't know we were going over it tonight. And we added in awning signs. I think that was the fourth. There were 4.
Oh, yes, awning signs, you're right. That's the one.
We really took a look at Hudson and how they did their downtown and what type of signs. You can see in Lori's, the rail trail has a wall sign and a projecting sign. Another thing we did with Northborough Crossing keeps having to go to the ZBA for variances. So we upped the size of the signs in the highway business district. And those signs also include Northborough Crossing. So it goes up to 250 square feet or 10% of the wall size. Because right now it's at 100 square feet. So we tried to fix some of the areas where the signs had to go for variances. I'm trying to think of what else we did. There really isn't that, there aren't that many changes, but it's such a long bylaw that, you know. There was a couple other bylaws though, thought would be important for downtown revitalization. One of the bylaws we had was asking for no metal buildings on Main Street because metal buildings are used in industrial areas and most towns don't allow metal as a form of a building. Oh, you had that?
I do.
So that was another one we added.
I prepared this PowerPoint presentation for Tuesday night, so I figured I would just share some of the slides that I thought you folks would be interested in. And then we also did some updates to the design standard for exterior lighting.
Most towns now do dark skies compliancy, and we've been asking for that in a condition on all of our warehouses and big projects lately. So we just added it into the bylaw. So we don't have to have it as a condition on all of our decisions. But I did move forward. Did anybody have a question on the sign by law? Someday we'll put it in table form because it's like 8 or 10 pages and you have to read through all the wording for all the different districts. And I really think it would be easy to have it in a table form instead, but we didn't want to try too much at one town meeting.
Okay, anything else, Lori?
I'd say that's it. If you want to hear more, certainly you could chime in to the public hearing on Tuesday night. And I will email you folks the zoning package tomorrow. So you have the opportunity to look it over the weekend. And then if you have questions or you want to make comments on Tuesday night, feedback is welcome.
And obviously, all of us are free to express our comments at the public hearing as individual residents of the town of Northborough. I just felt it'd be appropriate in a couple of these to express the opinion of the master plan committee as it relates to downtown revitalization. But certainly, we all have the ability to react to these as individual citizens of the town.
It would be great to hear it at the public hearing versus town meeting floor, at least for me.
I agree.
Yes, because when you hear it at public hearing, there's always the opportunity to correct.
Right.
And if people, you know, of course, you try to think of everything, but that's impossible. So sometimes questions come up at town meetings that you really wish came up at the public hearing, so you could think about them and come up with some really good answers.
Right.
Okay, so that pretty much concludes I wanted to cover. It seemed like the most important next step was to understand how this zoning impacts downtown revitalization and to advocate for those things that we think are significant. So we'll probably continue the discussion of, in general, how the MPIC will continue to perform in the downtown revitalization effort. But I thought tonight, because this zoning has impacts on the downtown and the public hearing is coming up next week, it was important to at least make sure people on the committee understood which parts of the zoning really had an impact on downtown revitalization. But we'll continue to discuss the role of the committee going forward. Let's move on to the minutes. The December 21st minutes, an amended copy was sent to us this week. Amy had some changes to that. Does anyone have any other changes or edits to the December 21st minutes?
Well, Rick, I just want to just make sure that I understand that. So we agree that you guys went back and listened to the recording, because I did not, and that the changes are what were highlighted in yellow are actually what was said. Okay.
Yeah, I would just like to clarify that the project has always, I thought it'd be in the 200 to 250 range. I think it was, my response was a specific response to a targeted question.
So my question then is, Lori, do you feel that the minutes accurately convey what you're intended, what you said? Because they're slightly out of context because it's not a transcript, right? It's a part of a conversation. So would it be better just to strike it completely? Is it important enough to be in there potentially out of context versus not at all?
I would feel more comfortable if it reflected the 200 to 250 figure versus the 100,000, because it makes me feel like it makes it sound like I just came up with the number out of thin air when, you know, I've been talking about this 200 to 250 figure for probably a year or so.
I think that's why I went back and changed it, because I felt like at the meeting, I said, how much is it going to cost? And you said 100,000. And I said, well, that's so cheap. We should just go to get ARPA money. So then when the ARPA money came forth, it was 250. I'm like, oh my gosh, how did it get to 250? And I did go back and listen to the meeting and it said 100. So, but that's why I asked you tonight. Because I didn't know how it jumped from 100 to 250. Because if at our meeting you had said 250, I might not even have thrown out the ARPA thing. I'm glad that, it all worked out, but it seemed like a lot more money than
But
I
if you
thought.
remember on the PowerPoint presentation, I wrote 250. So I wrote
don't remember.
250 for engineering, and then I wrote 2.5 million for construction. So the total project cost in the slide was 2,750,000.
But that was for the selectmen meeting, right? Because I don't think it was on the slide for our meeting, because I asked you the price. when we
No,
were
it
talking about
was. I gave the same presentation both nights.
Is there a way in the minutes to, like, in parentheses or italics or something, to qualify that number and just, explain what you meant by it? And
I think it has both the numbers, doesn't it? I don't remember now. I have to pull up the minutes.
Right, to my point again, does it make more sense to just say that there would be a presentation to the select board asking for ARPA funds to start the process and leave out the dollar amount? Is it important enough to be in there? I mean,
Well,
we
that's
just-
fine with me to
yeah.
leave out the number if I don't really care. It's up to everybody.
does anybody know the answer to my question? Could we just insert in parentheses or something that this was in response to a question that that didn't reflect the entire project or something, rather than strike it completely? I mean, it was said, and it could lead to confusion if people watch.
Well, I would
Exactly.
rather have what I said be the 250,000 as shown on the presentation, because I know I said that. So I would rather have that figure be reflected than this figure, because this is not correct.
Oh, when I listened to it.
I'm gonna make a motion that we look at this again, figure out the best way to write it in the minutes and approve those minutes at the next meeting.
I think that's a good suggestion. Maybe, Laura, you and Amy can just discuss this offline, come up with some wording that's acceptable to both of you, and then I agree with Julianne. We just bring these minutes back for review at the next meeting with some modified wording that's acceptable to everyone.
Sounds
That's a
good.
suggestion, Julie. Okay, so we'll pass over a vote on the December 21st minutes. On the January 18th joint meeting minutes, the only change I saw was in the first paragraph. This wording is probably carried forward from meeting to meeting. In the next to last line, it said, "This meeting did not allow for public comment," but I remember at this particular meeting, because I knew that there was going to be public comment, I did indicate that the meeting would allow public comment. So if we just strike the word "not," so it says this meeting did allow for public comment. That's what we, because we did take a lot of public comment at that meeting. Other than that, I have no other changes. Any other changes to the January 18th joint meeting minutes? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the joint meeting on January 18th?
So moved.
Second.
Second, moved and seconded. And let me get my I always lose my list of members. I've never memorized this. Okay. Julianne,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Millie. You still with us, Millie?
I'm on mute. Hi, aye.
Okay. Ashley,
Abstain.
abstain. Tracy,
She had to leave.
Fran,
Aye.
Gene Kennedy,
Aye.
Gene Cahill,
Abstain?
Rick Leaf votes aye, John Campbell,
Aye.
Jen Tolman. I don't think Jen's
I think
with
she
us.
had to leave too.
Please?
Julianne said she must have had to leave.
Okay, so the joint meeting minutes of January 18th are accepted. There's been some communication about an event that the Organization for the Assabet River is going to be holding on the 23rd of February. We've all been invited to that. And I know a couple of people have responded that they want to attend. I think it'd be interesting to hear. I'll be out of town that day, so I won't be able to go. But for those who go, it'll be interesting to hear what Oars has to say about the river and what impact that may have on plans we have for that Harvey property at some point. So I think what we'll do is we'll bring this back up at the next meeting and just get a update from people who attended this presentation on what was discussed and if there's anything about that that has any impact on our ongoing plans to make that river into something that everyone in the town can enjoy over time. So
Rick, was that invitation sent around via email from one of the town staff, or did it come right from Oars?
I know it came to Lori, and Lori sent it to everybody on the committee, I think.
Oh, okay. I'll look back. I may have missed that one.
Yeah.
Is
I
it the
can
River
send it out
Archive?
again. I've got the announcement and
Okay.
B2.
Actually, it came from Vinny originally.
Vinny? Okay, I'll check for that. Thank you.
Sorry, it was scheduled on a Friday of school vacation week. That was the only time that it could work out. I realize that doesn't work for a lot of people's schedules. So our next event will be a introduction to invasive species on town lands. That's an issue that's come up for the town forestry management, and that one will be held on a Saturday with Sudbury Valley trustees leading. So that should enable people to make it not conflicting with the workday.
Good. Okay, well, like I said, we'll put an item on the agenda for the next meeting to get an update on how that Oars presentation went and what impact, if any, that might have on our ongoing plans to turn the river into a good resource for the community. Any other business anyone has to come before the meeting tonight? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Julianne,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Millie,
Aye.
Ashley.
Hi.
I think we missed Tracy again. Fran,
Aye.
Gene Kennedy,
Aye.
Gene Cahill,
Aye.
Rick Leaf votes aye, John Campbell.
Aye.
I think Jen has left us. So we are now officially adjourned. Thank you all for your participation tonight. And the next meeting will be March 21st. And anybody who wants to, please log into the public hearing for the zoning next week. Okay, good night, everybody.
It
Thank
starts
you
at
so much.
6 o'clock.
Thanks,
Good
everyone.
night, everyone.